Well, good evening. This is Dave Jones with StormCenter Communications and GeoCollaborate. It is Wednesday afternoon, October 9th, 2024, about 5:45 here on the East Coast. This update is based on the 5 p.m. National Hurricane Center update, and this is for the All Hazards Consortium, sensitive information sharing environment, where we share these video updates to Emergency Operations Center, private sector liaisons, and also private sector partners in the food, fuel, transportation, logistics, grocery, medical supply, communications, telecommunications industries, so we can all be on the same page at the same time, looking at the same data. Well, this is a radar representation of Hurricane Milton. We knew it was going to come, that it was going to come within radar range of land-based radars, and boy, is there a lot of activity going on right now in the Tampa, St. Petersburg area, all the way down towards Naples, or towards Sarasota and Bradenton, with storm surges happening from Naples northward. I'm going to show you that on some of the devices, the tide gauge measurements that we're monitoring the tides live, courtesy of NOAA right now. But this is what's going on as far as the radar data is concerned, and I might as well point some of this stuff out. This right here is the eyewall. We've heard about the eyewall. I can move this up just a little bit more. The eyewall is the most intense part of the hurricane that typically wraps around the hurricane itself. But all day, we've been seeing some dry air trying to entrain, and I'll show you that in the satellite imagery here in just a second. Seen some dry air try to entrain itself into the system. Well, that is at least helping to raise the pressure a little bit of the center. Every millibar we can get, we will appreciate. And so I want to show you just one other thing before I go to the satellite picture. There's a lot of activity happening just south here in Bradenton and also Sarasota, also up to St. Petersburg. They're really taking it on the chin right now. Also on the East Coast, look at this. These are all tornado warnings that have been issued out of these thunderstorms, out of these spiral bands. Tornado warnings are in effect right now. As a matter of fact, there was one around Fort Lauderdale earlier, was caught on a state of Florida 511 camera. Take a look at this. That is a tornado, folks. That is one that was touching the ground, moving along. They were even moving the camera a little bit to follow it along. These tornadoes can pop up very quickly. They can be very destructive, but they could also be wrapped in rain. So we're going to keep our eyes on that. A lot of tornado warnings. As you can see, I've taken the radar full screen, and I'm not going to go over each one here because this isn't a live weather update. You're going to watch this later and think there's a tornado around you in Port St. Lucie, and it's happening right this minute at this time. You can see in the upper part of the screen, 5:44 East Coast time right now. But indeed, we're looking at severe weather along the East Coast of Florida and a landfalling hurricane on the West Coast with monstrous storm surges. Look at this in the radar data. This is pretty amazing. It's almost like a 3D look down into the eye. You can see these streamers here. This is very strong wind coming in. As a matter of fact, I can do something here. Let me zoom in just a little bit. This is incredibly heavy rain in North Sarasota and Sarasota, South Bradenton. We can actually take a look at the winds as well. I'm going to turn on this little viewer here and change this to velocity so we can take a look at the velocity. So right in here in the greens, it looks like 23, 24 miles an hour. Not too bad. But look at this as we get over to the mouth of Tampa Bay, 40, 50 mile per hour winds, and up towards St. Petersburg, 54, 50, 48 mile per hour winds as this eyewall starts to get closer and closer. But look, if we just go offshore a little bit, 68, 74, all the way here towards the eyewall, 99, 98 mile per hour winds. We're talking 113 mile per hour winds around this eyewall. And yes, this eyewall is coming ashore. So we're talking about winds in this hurricane where the National Hurricane Center has just made it 120 mile an hour winds. we're almost seeing it in real time here in this radar data. It is pretty amazing. And on the south side, look at this, 99-mile-per-hour winds. So just because you don't see much in the way of precipitation, it does not mean at all that there are not strong winds coming around this hurricane. So 101-mile-per-hour winds. So that's a range folding there. Can't get good information out of that, but there's really strong winds coming here in some of these bands, 78, 80-mile-per-hour winds. These heading into Inglewood and up to Venice, Florida, 94-mile-per-hour winds. So hurricane force winds are making their way onshore right now in the west, on the west coast of Florida, south of Sarasota and Bradenton. Siesta Key is here, and it's pushing a lot of water as well. Let me show you the satellite picture so we can show you what that looks like. The satellite picture here is showing a lot of these thunderstorms. Look at this on the East Coast. These are thunderstorms, big ones. Here's the center of the storm. A lot of winds. Remember, I showed you the wind field. I'm going to show you that again in GeoCollaborate because the center of the storm is passing over those buoys, and I want you to see it. So we can see that happening. Here's the latest statistics from the National Hurricane Center at 5 o'clock. Location there, 26.9 north, 83.5 west, 60 miles west-southwest of Sarasota, Florida. It's now 5:47, so I bet it's about 55 miles west-southwest, 170 miles southwest of Orlando, Florida. Yes, Orlando, you're in the crosshairs of this storm as well. Expect rocking and rolling in the middle of the night tonight when these winds reach you. Max winds 120 miles per hour. That's down from 125. Still a Category 3 destructive hurricane. Movement to the northeast at 17 miles per hour. So on the right-hand side, I don't know if you've ever taken vectors and math in your classes. On the right-hand side of the storm, since the storm is moving this way at 17, you can take these winds and add 17 miles per hour on it. So if we're detecting 100-mile-an-hour winds here, it will be 117 miles per hour when you add the movement of the storm. So this is going to be quite destructive, particularly to the east side and the north side of the storm, of the eyewall that moves ashore. The pressure down 2 millibars to 948 from 4 p.m. when it was 950. So maybe a little bit of pressure drop there. I wouldn't see any time to increase the winds in this particular storm. So let me just take the statistics off there. And I want to show you GeoCollaborate because GeoCollaborate is quite amazing right now. Here we are. Let me just fix that. There we go. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit because in GeoCollaborate, we're looking at the wind field. Wow. Look at that. I'm going to have to zoom out a little bit further just to fit it all in the screen. The wind field goes from the dry Tortugas all the way up to the Big Bend in Florida. That's basically the entire state of Florida, this wind field is, and that's pushing a lot of water. Unfortunately, we're going to see quite a bit of damage from southwest Florida, including Naples, and also down towards Fort Myers Beach, Punta Gorda, up towards Siesta Key and Sarasota and Bradenton, up towards Clearwater, St. Pete Beach, Passagrille. There's going to be major damage along this coastline. Unfortunately, such a beautiful, beautiful coast. But this storm is making it in, and now I want to dive in to see these buoys. Look at this. Have you ever seen this before? The NOAA P-3 aircraft on a previous mission dropped these wave drifters. These are wave drifters. As soon as they hit the ground, these are from UCSD out in California, the Scripps Institute of Oceanography. As soon as they hit the water, within 15 minutes, they were transmitting data. We were getting that data into GeoCollaborate, and now we can see what the wave heights are. This one down here, outside of the storm force winds, 15.9 foot waves. 15.9. We move up closer. Waves are getting bigger. 20-foot waves here. Inside, close to the storm force winds. We have 21.7 foot waves. Yes, they are making their way towards the coastline. This is within the hurricane force, 23.9 foot waves. 23 foot waves, and this is near the eye. Look at this, 20.6 foot waves. 20.6, and this one here, 35. There's a 35.8 foot wave measurement right here, and this is being pushed by the eye of the storm towards the coastline. So when you have an inundation, a storm surge of, let's say, 10 to 15 feet in certain areas, you have to add the wave height onto that. So you could be adding 15 to 20 foot waves on top of that 10-foot storm surge. That is going to batter and bruise every structure along the coastline there. We go a little bit further north here. We have waves of 21.7 feet. This is right now, folks, and 25.1 foot. The sea surface temperatures are in the mid 80s. There's nothing with the sea surface temperatures that are going to cause this to weaken at all. There's no upwelling. The water at depth is very warm in the shallow shelf in the eastern Gulf of Mexico. 25-foot waves now propagating out, and those waves will be heading to the Big Bend area. They will dampen out because the winds will be opposing them coming around as soon as the storm moves over the land, but it is pushing out some monstrous waves. This one has a little problem. It may have gone to sleep after so much beating. So this is a Category 3 hurricane. It is forecast now. We'll zoom right in here to make landfall just north of Sarasota, near the mouth of the Tampa Bay. Fortunately, the winds are going to be such that the major surge earlier thought of 15 feet is likely not going to happen. However, when this center of the storm gets up here and this wind is blowing up in this direction, we're going to get buildup, folks, of storm surge, and that is going to be significant and cause serious flooding up into Tampa as well. Look how wide the hurricane force wind radii is. This is how wide it is. And look, here's Tampa Bay right here. So the path of this is going to be cutting right through. This is one of the reasons I'm not a fan of when the National Hurricane Center is going to announce when this point crosses the coastline, that's the point of landfall. And so it just becomes a little point. Look how big this hurricane is. It's not a little point. And so the landfall for me is not very helpful for communicating to the public how impactful this storm was. Oh, it made landfall in this little town. No, it didn't. It made landfall in this 150-mile area of the coastline. But anywhere to the right, you'll see this pushing water inland. And that's the next place that I want to go. I want to go to the tides and currents and show you what's going on as far as that is concerned. So we have these sensors that are happening. You can see their little alerting saying, hey, something's changing here. And so we can monitor the tides here in Tampa Bay. And you can see they're starting to go up. They're a little bit confused right now. You can see normally they're kind of smooth, but look at all that up and down and up and down. Getting a lot of wind direction changes. So it's reluctantly going up as the tide approaches as well. On the bottom scroller of this screen, you can see the high tides that are coming. South Sarasota Bay, Thursday at 5:07 a.m. is high tide. Venice, Thursday at 4:02 a.m. is the next high tide. Let's go down here to Cape Coral and take a look at this, because they're getting strong winds right into, this is south of Port Charlotte, so this is Fort Myers in here. And here's Fort Myers Beach. Here's Sanibel. Remember that? They got really hit hard during Hurricane Ian. St. James City really hit hard. But let's take a look at this. Look at that. Look at the tide and tide level, how quickly it's going up. Now they're in minor flood in Fort Myers, Florida, right now. That is headed vertical. We're not sure if it's going to reach the major flooding, but it is on the way. So those of you that are around this area, please, I hope you've moved away from it, because when the tide comes in, that water is going to be coming up even further too. Let's check out Naples and see what the water's doing there. Whoa, that is way higher than we checked even before. It was way down here when we checked, but it was going vertical. Look at this. It's almost in major flood area for Naples. This is Naples Bay in North Florida there, in Naples, Florida. And the water level is in moderate flooding. So there is flooding happening along the roads there in Naples. Water's coming up on the pier and really wreaking havoc with the coastal properties and locations there. That is likely going to continue to rise, and they may be in major flood conditions within the next couple of hours. So that's what we're monitoring here with the coastal areas. On the East Coast side, we've been monitoring Miami, and you can see that they have been going into, they just touched minor flood, but now they're down because the tide is going down, and then also up towards Jacksonville. Jacksonville and the river here, the St. John River, is going to be really impacted because the winds are coming strong from the east and piling up water into the river. So you can see it's already above what the prediction is. This blue line is the prediction. This is where the water is now. But look, the tide's coming down. That's good. But when it starts to go up, this is probably going to touch minor or moderate flooding. That's another thing that we'll be monitoring as well. Look at this one. This is the NOAA site at the water level at I-295 in Buckman Bridge, Florida. They are in major flood right now. This has happened over the course of the last several hours, where the winds have just kept pushing the ocean water into the river, and heavy rains. Remember, we showed you the radar data. The heavy rains that are happening are really causing a big problem in Jacksonville, and that is causing a lot of flooding. They're in major flood right now in Jacksonville on the St. John River. And that is this one, this area right here. If we move a little bit further up, not quite in major flood, just minor flood at the South Bank Riverwalk in St. John's River. Beautiful area. They're in minor flood, and the tide is going down. So you can see that these tide gauges really vary depending on rainfall and wind direction. That is really what's happening. And now I want to just go back quickly to GeoCollaborate because I want to point out just a couple of things. I'm going to zoom out here. That wind field is just amazing. Look at that. Tropical storm force winds have reached the Space Coast, where they launched the rockets at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, Cape Kennedy, Kennedy Space Center. The wind field has now reached the eastern part, the eastern beaches of Florida. And that is down here, Port St. Lucie. It's down here, Melbourne. And look at this. This is a broad area of special marine warning issued because of the heavy thunderstorms that are going on in the outer bands. And I can just turn on with GeoCollaborate the radar data and just show you what that looks like here just for a few seconds. I'll turn off the wind radii just so you can see what's going on here. Let me turn off the initial wind radii. There we go. And now we can see all of the storms that are going on right around the coastline here. 2 active tornado warnings. There's another tornado warning there to the north. And this is all special marine warnings. These are very intense, probably out over the ocean right now, multiple water spouts going on. And look, there's even a drifter out here, and I can measure that. It's not measuring any wave heights. That one might be tired as well. But you can see just how much of Florida is being impacted by the storm. And now I want to turn off the real-time data. I'm going to turn off the radar data from the National Weather Service, and I'm going to turn on some of the impact data, what we expect. The tropical storm force wind arrival, we don't need that anymore because they have arrived. It's across the entire state of Florida, so we don't need to see that right now. I do want to remind you of the peak surge because that has not happened yet. The peak surge, and I'm going to throw on here the key for the peak surge so you can see it. The blue is up to 3 feet. Let me zoom out just a little bit here, make it a little bit easier to read. The blue is up to 3 feet. The yellow here is up to 6 feet. Tampa Bay and this area up to 9 feet. But even in the forecast from the National Hurricane Center, we're looking at there's flood warnings going on there as well. I'm just going to see if I can find I just may need to zoom in on this. Sometimes I try my luck when I'm zoomed out. But if I zoom in here and just touch Tampa Bay, 6 to 9 feet is the new storm surge forecast from the National Hurricane Center. Thank goodness. The storm surge forecast has gone down from 10 to 15 feet. Look at the difference that the track makes and where the hurricane makes landfall as to what becomes a catastrophic disaster for Tampa Bay and the surrounding areas versus a disaster. So we are going to see disastrous results from this storm surge, from this angle of trajectory from this storm. Now I'll back out a little bit more so you can see more of the expected peak surge. This is what could happen as a peak. In the pink here, this is the bullseye. This is 12 feet and higher. So I'll zoom in again, once again in this area so we can get a little bit more specific. Jumping around here on the map a little bit, but for Bradenton, and this is Manatee County, this storm surge here is, we're talking, let's see, let me click it correctly, 9 to 13 feet. This is going to be devastating. Devastating storm surge for these barrier islands in Sarasota County and Manatee County. And that is beginning now because the eyewall will be coming ashore. We saw the wave heights from the buoys, which are right here. Once again, here's a wave height of 23.9 feet. I'll get this up here so you can see it. The wave height right here at this buoy, 23.9 feet. There are some big waves and big swells that are headed towards the beach right now, being pushed by the eyewall of Hurricane Milton. Now, if we get down towards Port Charlotte here, we're talking about 8 to 12 foot peak storm surge, which is going to be devastating in Port Charlotte, Punta Gorda, all the beaches along there, Cape Coral, and on into Fort Myers and Fort Myers Beach, Sanibel Island. That is what we're talking about. Again, yes, again, 8 to 12 feet of storm surge. That's going to be crippling for that section of Florida. And down on into Naples, we're talking about a storm surge of 5 to 8 feet. 5 to 8 feet, and we've been monitoring that with the tide gauges as well. So I'm going to end this 5 o'clock update here so we can get it out. No more hour-long summaries, although it is very interesting to look at different various data types and see what's going on. But in the meantime, we're talking about a very strong hurricane, Category 3. This is the 1 minute GOES satellite imagery that's coming in from at high resolution, and I've enhanced it to show where the highest cloud tops are. And before I sign off, I just want to point out these high cloud tops, these white ones, there may even be hail in some of these. They're so high, and you typically don't get hail with these tropical type systems because it's such a warm atmosphere. But there's lightning within these as well, and I may be able to add lightning data as well. Let me just see if I can do that real quick. Here we go. See if there's any lightning data. Well, there's certainly a lot of lightning data to the east in these thunderstorms. That is lightning going on right now in these big storms that are producing the tornadoes and the multiple tornado warnings. Doesn't look like any lightning in the center of Hurricane Milton right now. So if you look outside and you see flashes on the West Coast, they're transformers. They're transformers that are blowing as electricity gets run out because of the high winds. But this is the dangerous part of the storm. This is what's going to make landfall here. I think between the official landfall time, probably around 8:30-ish time frame, but the eyewall is getting close to making its way onshore to impact Tampa Bay, St. Pete, Clearwater, and also down to the south in Sarasota, Siesta Key, Bradenton, those areas. So if you're watching me from there, hold on tight. Remember what I talked about before with getting that interior room. If you are also watching this, close all of your inside doors. That has been proven to make the house stronger. So close all the inside bedroom doors and all that stuff. It helps with the strength of the house. And if you do find yourself with a broken window and air is getting in, immediately get into that interior room, that closet that we talked about with all the things that you can put in there. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, look at my previous update where I detail all that, the one that's like an hour long, and I apologize for that. But hopefully that information was helpful. We'll do another update later on this evening. For now, I'm Dave Jones with StormCenter Communications and GeoCollaborate. This has been an update based on the 5 p.m. Hurricane Center update for Hurricane Milton. Category 3 hurricane, 120 mile per hour winds, closing in on Tampa Bay and surrounding towns, including Sarasota and Bradenton, Siesta Key, and areas to the south with major storm surge in progress. I'll keep you updated. Thanks for watching. Please take care of yourself and also take care of your neighbors and check on them.